In the headlines for the CBC NewsNight, government's getting help in bolstering its cybersecurity. Fisherfolk speak about the challenges they are facing. A man dies in a car following a collision with another vehicle. There's uncertainty about the cause of death. And in sports, contingency plans in place for the 2023 schools track and field season.
The CBC NewsNight headlines brought to you by Zapatos Plus by Alexander. We carry the latest in ladies, gents, and kids' shoes, socks, bags, and lots more.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening and welcome to the CBC NewsNight. I'm Wendy Burke. The government of Barbados is receiving help from the InterAmerican Development Bank to bolster its cybersecurity protection. Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, Davidson Ishmael, speaking to CBC News in light of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital and defense in this area generally, says they're partnering with them at a good time.
We are working with the IDB, who has been a very solid partner with us, a very timely and good partner in helping us to address this matter from a technical perspective, and also to help us to purchase and procure some of the systems and some of the infrastructure that will be needed. That is not under cards as yet, but in due course, we do believe that we'll be able to utilize through a facility with them that has already been agreed to, that we will be able to then utilize that to be able to assist with some of the upgrades that are going to take place at the QEH to ensure that the systems there are not only cutting edge, but they also are as secure as we need them to be for that facility going forward.
He says cybersecurity is an area requiring constant monitoring because you could have a strong cybersecurity posture and then an incident takes place.
You have persons, unfortunately, who wake up every single day seeking to find a way to either maliciously or just from a perspective of being annoying, trying to disrupt a service, disrupt an organization, or disrupt even a government. So it is one of those things that requires around-the-clock monitoring, and the government has continued to engage in that activity and that practice. We've always sought to upgrade and enhance our cybersecurity maturity. There's room for improvement, and of course that is always going to be the case because, as I said, there's always going to be a threat to your system, to your organization, to your systems, and to your structures.
Minister Ishmael said the incident pointed out the vulnerabilities in the institution's system.
Those vulnerabilities now are being addressed aggressively. We have not only brought in a technical person, a cybersecurity consultant, who is assisting and working with the team at MIST around the clock since the incident would have taken place, to not only bring back the services back online, but also to upgrade and enhance the cybersecurity scenario, situation and environment at the QEH.
Cybersecurity is a highly specialized field, and joining us for more insight into that area is IT expert Stephen Williams. Mr. Williams, you just heard the minister speak of what government is doing to protect its IT infrastructure. From your perspective, for an operation as vast as that utilized by a government, how do you protect it from hackers?
The minister is right. It's a complex thing, but I would add that the first thing you can do, especially given the fact that the government is waiting on resources, is to educate the people. Because whereas the full disclosure of the attack was not communicated to the public, it's still an ongoing activity. I would say that most systems right now have a pretty good protection rate. What you can't really easily upgrade is people. People have been the single biggest threat to cybersecurity, not necessarily weak systems per se. Yes, you want to keep improving on those systems, but the first thing I would advise any individual, cooperation, and government going forward, that you have to have part of that security posture is the training of people in cyber awareness, as well as the importance and why it's important, because at this point in time, it's also a business for these guys. It goes beyond sometimes a nuisance activity, and these guys get up every day and they go to work. They actually go to work hacking your network because of the rich data. Now, the hospital was like the linchpin to bring us to this reality. And the fact is, the hospital is the single biggest resource of personal identifiable data in Barbados. There's no other company, government department, or organization that has as much rich data that is invaluable to hackers than the Barbados hospital.
Are IT professionals being engaged more than before to respond to these cyber attacks?
Yes, there's an increase, and you see it in terms of ransomware, which is the leading bugbear that businesses and organizations will be experiencing. Sometimes, unfortunately, we don't have a reporting mechanism that actually mandates that these things actually be reported to either the police or MIS themselves. And I think that that's one of the things I would like to see involved going forward, that you must report cybersecurity breaches. And then from there, have a more, I guess, national awakening to this reality. But yes, there has been some increase.
Okay, do you believe that governments, companies, and even individuals are actually more aware now than before of these cyber threats than they were in previous years?
Yes, they're definitely more aware. It's more in the news. It used to be something that we just saw on foreign TV, American TV, or even European TV. But as we look at our region and our region's press, we see from large conglomerates being attacked to critical institutions within a government's structure being attacked as well. So you can't escape the fact that people are becoming more aware of it. One of the things that do concern me is if it's actually getting the priority and the risk response, because cyber attacks, people kind of get panicky after the attack, but there's more activity to happen before a possible threat or an attack that goes into after. So it is a saying that, we come up knowing as young people and children, it says is an ounce of prevention is better than the cure. So, whereas we get all excited about the actual event occurring and what that means for people's lives, yes, and the actual, reality going forward, I think we have to take a hard look at, yes, we are aware of this new risk and threat. Are we giving it the weight and priority it deserves?
Now we're talking about weight and variety. There's something that's taken over the world and people are afraid of how it could be used. TikTok. What's your position? Should we, like the U.S. government, ban it in terms of the government-owned devices?
That's a good question. TikTok in itself has been the subject of much discussion in terms of its true intention. And when we say the true intention, the American government believes that the origin of TikTok was nothing good. It is to keep people glued to a machine, and the algorithm that keeps feeding that content was one that destabilizes the actual, I guess, brain, from the perspective that these tools are becoming really, really, really dangerous and addictive, and the type of content being pushed has had a anti-Western agenda. At least that's what the West is saying. Barbados in itself has to start taking, let me say Barbados, I think the region has to develop a policy now on these tools such as TikTok, Facebook, we can go on, because they were built first and foremost for Western nations such as the United States, and it has very little, consideration for our own value system within the region. Okay. We are people that have our own values and our own expectations, and to wholeheartedly take up these tools, yes, I think it's time that government step in to see what damage it may be doing, and even look at what happened during COVID with our educational system, where a lot of young people, spent so much time on TikTok away from online learning. So we need to start taking a hard look at these tools, because yes, I think that while I can't say yay or nay in terms of government banning it, we must at least have a policy and understanding of what it can do in terms of damage.
Okay. I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening, Mr. Stephen Williams. We enjoyed hearing from you and the information you had to impart. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
The COVID-19 subvariant XBB 1.5, which is affecting several people in the United States, is not new to the region. Director of the Caribbean Public Health Agency, Dr. Joy Singh John, told CBC News her agency has tested for and isolated that variant since last year.
For the Caribbean, that is not new. That has been circulating in our region for several months since last year. What is happening is that there is a focus on that particular subvariant of Omicron because it is becoming the cause of more and more cases in the US. But it's been circulating for some time, and it is not a cause, at least not in the Caribbean, of severe cases, hospitalizations, and deaths.
She added that the viruses which are of concern now are other respiratory illnesses and not COVID.
Although there have been severe cases, hospitalizations, and deaths of respiratory illness, it's not usually caused by COVID. There are other viruses that have been circulating that have been causing issues towards the latter half of 2022, and especially in the final quarter of 2022, but not really COVID. Yes, COVID is circulating. Yes, you may be having mild cases, but not ones that are normally ending up in hospital or acute care or intensive care setting, as we had during that really bad bout with Delta.
The CARFA director added that the agency has not been seeing as many requests for testing from member states.
There is the regular PCR testing. We're not getting much of that. We haven't been getting much of that for months because more and more countries have their own capacity.
New year, same challenges. That's the cry from Fisherfolk at the island's largest fish market. A CBC News team revisited the Bridgetown Fisheries Complex, where Fisherfolk say there has not been much change in catches nor prices.
As I said last year, there were a little catches, and it still goes on. After the boats came in for the Christmas holidays, spent time with their family, we are still getting less fish. We are not having the flying fish. We are not having the amberfish, which is a big hit. We are not having the dolphins. The dolphins are coming slight, and they're selling from the boat at $12 per pound.
So we let a lot of fish come in that we could get enough fish to work with. That's the honest truth. But right now, the fish ain't coming at all. And they come in and they're very small. When you put 10 of these in a bag, it look like 5. So I will hope that they improve and we get some to improve ourselves too.
One vendor is calling for improved conditions in the Bridgetown market and explained the reason behind the high prices.
I'd like to see, a little bit more upgrade of the market. And the standards of the people in the market change. Prices of the diesel and everything gone up. So when the guys go out and they don't do their catches as they usually do, it's obvious that the prices are going to go up. Some people think that the fish is too expensive, but when the guys come and if somebody come and say, well, I want so much and so much of my fish, when it comes to the table, it's obvious that you have to make a profit. So it's like the processors are not really getting that big set either, so that is where the problem comes in. There's not enough fish really. Usually we have loads of fish. At this time of the year, you get flying fish and everything. So when a boat come and the guy only allow everybody 100, they don't have enough.
Police investigations are continuing into the discovery of a dead man after a vehicular accident this morning. Police Communications and Public Affairs Officer Inspector Rodney Innes says about 11:15, Operations Control received a call about an accident between two vehicles in the car park of Massey Warrens in St. Michael. At this time, police are unsure whether he suffered a medical problem prior to the collision or if his death is as a result of injuries sustained from the collision. The man's identity has not yet been released at this time. A massive search continues for 82-year-old Elmonda Husbands. Husbands of Middleton St. George was reported missing by her son after she left the residence on Monday and has not been seen since. A joint team from the Barbados Police Service and the Barbados Defence Force were out in their numbers looking for the elderly woman. From Workman's to Rock Hall and a number of surrounding areas in St. George. Husbands is of brown complexion, 5'5", slim-built, walks with a limp. She is diabetic and suffers from dementia. She left home dressed in a blue long skirt, blue and white long sleeve top, and wearing a grey hat. Anyone who may have seen Elmonda Husbands is asked to please contact the Boarded Hall Station at 437-4311, Oyston's Police Station at 418-2612, or Police Emergency at 211. Former Chief Education Officer Laurie King has died. CBC understands he passed away at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital this morning after a brief illness. He was 65. Mr. King was appointed Education Chief in 2012 after serving in the Ministry of Education for a number of years. He was elevated to the position after acting as Chief for 2 years following the retirement of Dr. Wendy Griffith-Watson. Bajans have a saying, when you leave home, you don't know who can feed you. Well, a group of men at the junction of Thorpe's Cottage and Tate Hill in St. George have been doing just that, cooking a communal pot each day and feeding anyone who may need a meal. They caught the eye of photographer Christopher Wood, who found out why they give, even to strangers. Knocks a pot, cook a food, open air cooking, whatever you choose to call it. This group of men at Tate Hill St. George have been using whatever ingredients they can get their hands on to make a meal. A wood fire is used, and the group of men do their thing. Steve Marshall says the cooking serves many purposes, including better health.
We cut here every day, keep everybody fast food. Keep the community together so we don't get enough violence or not. Keep everybody violence until we cut here roast breadfruit. So we cut every day, we roast breadfruit. And keep everything, anybody pass want anything to eat, to get something to eat. We don't worry about that there, everything is okay.
He spoke about what today's meal offering is.
Tuna and macaroni today, we cooking today. Tomorrow we another menu.
Aye. So you got a big pot here, so anybody can get
anybody that pass to get some.
Steve also had some advice for those who eat fast food regularly.
People that body fast food, they could come and stop and get some as well. You don't got to keep buying fast food all the time. Back in the old time, they used the wood fire, the good fire burning, the good burn. Bottom, you know, people say the bottom best. The bottom with the food best, that the burn with the bun.
These St. George men are showing that sharing is truly caring.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
Sports time now with Damian Best.
Yeah, thanks so much, Wendy. Good evening to you. Good evening to our viewers and listeners. Well, the National Sports Council is bracing itself for a hectic 2023 schools track and field season. Speaking to CBC, Director of Sports at the NSC, Neil Murrow, has confirmed that alternative plans are on the table in the absence of the National Stadium facility and the proposed 400-meter track at Wildy. The Hillary term begins next week, and as usual, schools will be staging their various house meets in the build-up to the National Primary School Athletics Championship and the Barbados Secondary Schools Athletic Championships.
As you would know, we will not have National Stadium track to use at this stage because we are still working with the People's Republic of China to ensure that the stadium comes to fruition. We are also working and preliminary working out the alternate track at Wildy in terms of the final costings and so on. So we put a plan B in place in terms of identifying a number of secondary school grounds, ensuring that they're fully grassed, fully cut, so that training and competition can take place. We have had this situation before in 2011, 2012, and we're working on it now in the interim until we are able to get those stadia in place in the next few months.
Murrow also revealed that the NSC will be rolling out various projects in the coming months.
We will either be putting in new facilities or regrading facilities, hardcoating other facilities before the end of the financial year. These two go hand in hand, facilities development and development programs, because once you have the facilities in place, you're then able to put straight development programs in place which would assist the development of the disciplines. That then will go hand in hand with coaching development. So over the next, I would say, 3 to 8 months, the National Sports Council is working on strengthening our coaching development program, both at the level of the National Sports Council coaches, both at the level of community coaches. The whole idea is to identify talent and then work with the national associations in developing that talent to go further.
In business news, the Barbados International Business Association, BIBA, is going to be about keeping Barbados at the top of its game for 2023. President Jamar Arthur Selman says the association will tackle it with a three-pronged approach.
You want to have as much in the machinery as possible, which means increasing business in terms of marketing efforts and in terms of positioning Barbados as the jurisdiction of choice for global businesses around the world. And the third prong of the approach as well is to really always keep Barbados in a state of evolution. So you don't ever want to stay stagnant in what you're offering as a jurisdiction in terms of global business and in terms of what your people as well have to offer. So the third prong of the approach really is about making sure that we continue to reposition Barbados as even more attractive on a non-tax competition basis.
BIBA is also looking favorably on the selection of the Director General of the Anti-Corruption Anti-Terrorism Unit. The BIBA president believes the background of former Commissioner of Police Darwin Doughton is good. And if there is still a gap to be filled, he assures it is now smaller with this appointment.
It's good for Barbados in the sense that we have a dedicated agency that will help just our global view on our perception of corruption in Barbados and what type of measures agencies and personnel and staff are available to treat with that. So that's never a bad thing. On a micro level as well, it's not this is the part where I'm talking about indirectly. So it will always help because within that legislation, there's obviously power and authority for the Director General to be able to request information, to be able to get search warrants done, so on and so forth.
Local wine producer Shalana's Natural Wines is looking to get into the export market. That's according to sales executive Simone Trotman. She says the company caters to a variety of tastes.
When you hear Shalana's Natural Wines, you think about all locally made, great tasting wines from all of our local fruits and vegetables.
The sales executive says they have embarked on an outreach program aimed at taking the wine to the people.
We're also at Q every Thursdays. We do have a little pop-up in Bridgetown, sometimes, not every week. Some days every other week, or at least at Christmas time.
Good night.
Thanks for visiting us. To get more stories like this one, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.